or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate. We think too much and feel too little. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness. Without these qualities, life will be violent. And all will be lost, all will be lost. Do not despair. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people, Let us all unite! Let us fight for a new world, to do away with greed. Now let us fight to free the world, to fulfill that promise. Let us all unite!
I just want to say that we have an alternative resolution that we're going to be reading part of it here with Raji. A no-fee resolution. We don't think we should be paying a fee to have an analog meter. We weren't charged for a meter reading before digitals came along, and all of a sudden we're going to be charged now that digitals came along. That doesn't make any sense. There's 13 states that have analog meters that they're using. 2 of them are free. Vermont and California, mainly LA, are using free analog meters. There's 300,000 people in this ratepayer zone for Central Hudson. And the few that are going to opt out, they're going to save a lot of money with all those people that are not going to opt out. Most people are not going to opt out because they don't know. And so all that money is being saved by all those meter readings. What about the few of us that are going to opt out? We're going to be charged? That's ridiculous. We don't need to be charged. We didn't want that meter. They opted us in. Okay? It's their responsibility. It's figured out in their costs. They're just trying to, this is a disguised rate hike, this tariff. And so we have an alternative resolution here, which is more detailed than the one that I read that's going to be shown tonight by Ken Panza. So we hope you would please look at this before you vote. Look at this resolution and see what it has to offer, because it's very comprehensive, and it's more than just no fee. There's things like no Trojan horse meters to be used, which is an analog meter that has a transmitting device in it. People have to be notified if they're going to put ERT meters on their house. 30 days prior notice. There's things like that that are in there that really protect the residents of Woodstock. So please, I also put, both Raji and I put a chart in there that shows all the states that have opt-outs. In red are analog. Everything in red is analog. There's a chart in there about the UN and all this stuff. My time's up. So anyway, check out what you got.
Time at the after.
Okay. Thank you.
Chris Finley.
Oh, that helps. My name is Chris Finley, and I am a resident of Woodstock, New York. I'm here tonight to support a resolution for an electro-mechanical analog utility meter opt-out with no fees. I'm also a customer of Central Hudson, and they have continued to exploit and lie to me and all its customers in the Hudson Valley by telling them that analog meters are no longer available to them, and hence no longer available to us, its customers. I have a Central Hudson AMR meter on my home. If at present I choose to not have this microwave radiation emitting utility meter on my home, Central Hudson will exploit me and many other people in my situation, charging us $49.99 one-time fee and a $6.99 per month fee for the foreseeable future.
For the rest of your life.
Well, it might go up, Steve.
Yeah.
Why are Central Hudson charging its customers for something they don't want? Why are they charging me to remove something from my house that is causing me and my family harm? Why is the New York Public Service Commission allowing them to exploit its customers in this way? Surely any amount of money to avoid harm is extortion. Central Hudson is the party that opted us in, without our permission. As such, any costs involved in opting out must belong to Central Hudson. To opt out is no choice for many people who cannot afford to pay these extra fees. And for those who can afford to pay these fees, they will still, in many living situations, continue to get injured by the microwave radiation coming from their neighbour's AMO meter.
Chris, your time is up.
I also believe that the cost involved in using an old analogue meter may already be baked into the rates, and to charge customers an extra fee for this same service.
Chris, well, you'll have time to finish later. I promise
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Promise you. Thanks.
Christina?
Hello, my name is Raji Nevin. I live in Woodstock, New York. I also want to reiterate what Steve told the board, which is that we're not asking you, we're actually requesting very strongly that you read the resolution that we provided to you. We did include some of what Ken wrote in the beginning, and we added what we think is a stronger resolution that will hold up. And we've done a lot more research than Mr. Penza has, non-industry studies, and we know what's going on. We urge you to please read through our resolution. It's something that's going to help everyone in this town and can snowball to help everyone in the United States so that we can be one of the states that opts out with no fee with an analog, which is what we've wanted all along. It's not that much to ask. I'm going to read a small part of our resolution, which is under Section 2, Resolution. A resolution petitioning the New York State Public Service Commission to order Central Hudson to allow utility consumers to retain an analog utility meter and/or to replace any digital meter previously installed, transmitting or non-transmitting, with a remanufactured ANSI-approved analog utility meter with no fees or penalties. Further, Central Hudson shall provide utility consumer a 30-day written notice in advance of installing any type of meter at no additional charges, monthly or otherwise. In addition, Central Hudson must fully inform utility customers of their rights to retain their analog meter. If a utility consumer decides to retain their analog utility meter, they will not incur any fees or penalties. Central Hudson will also allow utility consumer to request removal of a previously installed digital meter with a remanufactured ANSI-approved analog utility meter for any reason with no fees or penalties for such removal. I'd also like to add that we have very clear definitions that are imperative that you take a look at and read, because those definitions are referenced throughout the resolution. I really am strongly requesting that you read the entire resolution, and we would appreciate that very much. Thank you.
I don't have a copy of the resolution. That's that. Thank you.
Raji, for the public's benefit, where can one get an ANSI approved analog meter?
Let's just finish publicly heard there, because we're going to have there'll be a lot of discussion.
Terry Rosenblum?
Hello, everybody.
If you stand over there, then you can be on camera. If you want to.
Who's walked in?
I spent most of my life with dogs, lots of them. And I still have 2 of them right now. You, I think, know them. Both of them are now ill. That's never happened before in all my life. And I think it's because they've changed that little round thing that they put on my house. and now they cough, and now they don't quite feel as good. And it is breaking my heart. So it doesn't matter anymore whether they think it's about money or they think it's about something else, or we should or we shouldn't. We are hurting. We are not helping our dogs. And if for no other reason, we have to get rid of those.
Thank you.
A very confusing response from Central Hudson. They then went to the PSC and asked for a resolution. The PSC suggested putting together a petition. And the petition has been circulated. We have about 50 signatures on that. And we're going to submit that to the PSC this week. And this resolution really supports those people who have tried to exercise the opt-out option and have participated in the petition process.
Do you have the petition with you now? You could pass it around and bring another one.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait a minute.
Wait.
I'm not doing the petition. It's, there's other people that are doing the petition. And I'm sure they'll be more than happy to. You've already signed it.
What exactly is on the petition, Ken? Is it analog free opt-out, or is it digital meter opt-out?
I'm going to read the
Yeah,
resolution.
let's not jump line. Let's read
Because the wording of the last two resolves are essentially the wording from the petition. A resolution petitioning New York State Public Service Commission to order Central Hudson to allow customers to retain their analog non-AMR meters under the terms of the AMR opt-out tariff 12.2, case number 14-M-0196. Whereas on June 18, 2013, the Woodstock Town Board adopted Resolution 190-2013 supporting New York State Senate Resolution number S-3379 and Assembly Resolution number A-7799 that would give electricity consumers the option to not have smart meters replace their analog meters and would mandate there not be a fee to consumers who elect not to use smart meters. And whereas on December 13, 2013, the Ulster County Legislature adopted Resolution number 315 supporting the passage of New York State Resolutions S-3379 and Assembly Resolution number A-7799 entitled An Act to Amend the Public Service Law in relation to providing consumers the option to elect not to use transmitting utility meters. The legislature expressed support for action to be taken by the New York State Legislature to prohibit electric utility companies from forcing customers to utilize so-called smart meters, also known in the aforesaid resolution as transmitting utility meters. And whereas on January 25th, 2014, it was reported that Joel Tyner, Dutchess County Legislature, introduced a resolution to support State Senate Resolution S-3379 and Assembly Resolution A-7799 that would allow electric customers to decline the installation of transmitting utility meters. Whereas on May 22, 2014, Central Hudson filed a petition with the Public Service Commission requesting approval to establish tariff fees for residential customers who choose to opt out of using automatic meter reading AMR devices, in other words, ERT meters. The proposed tariffs would allow residential customers to opt out of using AMR devices and instead elect to have the company install and maintain a non-AMR meter and manually read their meters through bi-monthly in-person meter reads. And whereas on September 8, 2014, the Public Service Commission issued an order case 14-M-0196 approving the petition filed by Central Hudson requesting to establish tariff fees for residential customers to opt out of using automatic meter reading AMR devices, again ERT meters. And whereas on October 1st, 2014, Central Hudson Tariff 12.2, automatic meter reading AMR opt-out lease 53.8, 53.9, and 53.10 became effective and states that existing customers with an AMR meter and upon receipt of a fully executed application will have their meter changed to a digital non-AMR equipped meter. The customer will be subject to a one-time meter charge fee and a monthly non-AMR service fee. And whereas Central Hudson Tariff 12.2, automated meter reading AMR opt-out lease 53.8, 53.9, and 5310 states that an existing customer receiving service through a non-AMR, e.g. analog equipped meter, may execute and submit an application to request that service be continued through the non-AMR equipped meter. The customer will not be subject to the one-time meter charge fee, but will be subject to the monthly non-AMR service fee. And whereas Central Hudson 12.2 automated meter reading opt-out leaves 53.8, 53.9, 53.10 regarding an existing customer receiving service through a non-AMR meter analog is ambiguous. A customer with a non-AMR meter may execute and submit an application to request that service be continued through a non-AMR equipped meter. The term non-AMR meter can be referred to an analog non-AMR or a digital non-AMR. And whereas the Woodstock Town Board has received complaints from residents applying to retain their analog meters under the terms of the AMR opt-out tariff, being told by Central Hudson their analog meter would be replaced by a digital non-AMR meter. Whereas the intention of the Woodstock Town Board expressed in its resolution 190-2013, dated June 18, 2013, was to allow Woodstock residents to retain their analog meter, utility meter. Therefore, be it resolved, the Woodstock Town Board petitions the Public Service Commission to amend New York State PSC Order Case 14-M-016, which ordered Central Hudson to provide an AMR meter opt-out and tariff, to order Central Hudson to allow customers participating in the opt-out program to retain their installed analog meters. And furthermore, be it resolved, the Woodstock Town Board petitions the Public Service Commission to amend New York State PSC Order Case 14-M-0196, which ordered Central Hudson to provide an AMR meter opt-out and tariff, to order Central Hudson to offer analog meters as replacement for installed ERT meters, and furthermore, be it resolved, the Woodstock Town Board instructs the town clerk to send a certified copy to the Honorable Catherine Burgess, Secretary of the New York State Public Service Commission, and be it resolved, the town board instructs the town clerk to send certified copies of this resolution to Mike Hine, the Ulster County Executive, John R. Borretti, the Chairman of the Ulster County Legislature, Assemblyman Kevin Cahill, New York State Senator George Amador, and Joel Tyner, Dutchess County Legislature.
I will second for the purpose of discussion. And first I'll ask, does anybody on the board have any comments or should we?
Subsequently.
I will, yeah.
But you want to go first or should we do public?
You know, I would certainly let the public know
Okay,
first.
good.
That'd be fine.
So I'm going to open up to the public. I think we've all expressed a willingness to go along with this resolution. There's no opposition at this table for this resolution. So I think we're pretty convinced that the dangers of smart meters. So I don't think we need to get into long discussions about how we all agree with that.
Well, possibly.
No.
Oh, you disagree?
I might very well have a disagreement with that.
I go with Jay.
Anyway, we do have a resolution on the table, and I would ask you to speak to the resolution. And we're going to give everybody 2 minutes. I'm going to ask everybody to honor that. We can go around a couple of times, but I really ask so that we can hear everyone that you honor the 2 minutes. And Jackie, keep
How do you want to start?
Well,
Start with Steve and
start
go
with
around?
Have people introduce themselves. I don't
Yep.
necessarily know everyone.
Yeah, so come up and
Steve, you're not speaking.
Yes, I am.
All right, then we're going to start with you. Well, why don't you start so you go across the line, otherwise
Okay.
you're never going to know who went. and who
Yeah,
didn't.
that's fit, fine. You'll be second on it.
Hi, my name is Steve Romine. I'm a resident of Woodstock, and I'm with Stop Smart Meters, Woodstock, NY. And we opposed this resolution by Town Board Member Ken Panza because it allows for us to be charged for a meter that we never wanted. As I said before, 300,000 people in the area are going to, that's the size of the Central Hudson consumer base, and most of them are not going to opt out. There's only going to be a small percentage of people that are going to opt out. We wish everybody would opt out, but unfortunately that's probably not going to be the case. And so why should we be charged for this meter and be charged for the rest of our life if we lived in the community? This is ridiculous. This is a disguised rate hike, and it's being called a tariff, but it's a rate hike. And we weren't charged for meter reading before we had digital meters. Why are we being charged now for meter reading? It's absolutely not just. Now, we didn't want those digital meters. We weren't told about the digital meters, and they put them on our houses without our permission. And now they're going to charge us to get them off? Sorry, that doesn't work.
Steve? So, if in this resolution it said something about free or no charge,
Yes,
you'd be happy with it?
yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yes, we will.
Good job.
Good job.
Well, I thought we had
My name's Raji Nevin. I live in Woodstock, New York. I just want to say that Steve and I have been working on this issue for almost 3 years. We know a lot about it. We've invested a lot of our time and energy into this. Second of all, addressing the issue of this resolution that's on the table. I was told that Ken Panza wasn't asked by the board to create a resolution. It was all his own doing. So why are we accepting a resolution on your table to vote on when nobody even asked him to come up with one? That's the first issue that I have with it. The second issue is that we went through and put our time and energy into creating a second resolution because we know that Ken Panza's resolution, which we never asked him to do, is full of loopholes that Central Hudson will find and utilize. That's what they're good at. It's not just about the charging, it's also about, let me finish. It's not just about the charging, it's also about the type of meter, which is why in our resolution, which I handed out to most of you, it states very clearly which meters are accepted and which meters are not accepted. Mr. Panza did not do that in this resolution. We need for the board to take our resolution and consider adopting that. We did put into that resolution some of the things that made sense from Ken Panza's resolution. That's the resolution we want you to vote on. We never asked for Ken to write a resolution. Every time we come here, it's made to sound as if we haven't done any work and suddenly all of a sudden the board's doing this for us. These are all things that we've presented to you. And the last meeting, furthermore, the last meeting Ken said, oh, we haven't heard from you in 2 years and here you are again. Big deal. We didn't disappear. We've been working on this issue for 2 years.
Okay, Raj, thank you.
I would just like to say,
Please.
I would like to say, it was nice, it was great that Ken wrote something up, but we are very open to reading a resolution and looking at the details. What I'm not open to is making a decision when I just got it. I just got this tonight. I'd like time to look it over, read the details, have some of them checked out. I thoroughly appreciate the time and energy you people have put into this because obviously I don't have the time to put that kind of time into one issue when there's so many things we're dealing with. But I am grateful you did it, but I also am thankful to Ken for doing what he did. But we definitely will consider this. It's not just because he wrote a resolution doesn't mean that's it. We're here to discuss this tonight and to look at what you gave us.
But why does he
What
have
Bill
it
said
read?
is that resolution's on the table.
Yes, Raji, please.
Yes,
It's not back and
It is on
forth.
the table, but it's, we can say no.
It's not back and forth.
We can say no and wait and say we want to look at this resolution after we listen to the public.
I would just want to add one thing. And I'm frequently at odds with Ken, but I appreciate the fact that he took this issue and he wrote a resolution. He brought it, he offered it to the town board. He didn't ask to have it put on. He presented us with a resolution. This board last week agreed that we wanted to have it on the agenda as a topic of discussion, and that's how it got there. Also, I would really like to move beyond personal attacks, okay? We all have different opinions on this. Some of you match, some of you don't. Ken's worked hard on this, whether you agree with him or not, and it muddies the issue.
Well, you understand, Raji had a mini stroke,
Yeah, I understand.
so she's entitled to get a little bit passionate.
I understand. Passionate about the issue, not the person, that's all.
I saw passionate about the
Okay,
issue.
sorry.
I would just like, as a matter of information, any town board member can write a resolution about any topic in the world and have presented to the town board for discussion.
Absolutely.
End of topic.
Thank you, Jane.
And so can we.
And so can we.
Yeah.
That's all.
And
We're
that's
not
what
as
we're
likely
doing.
to get it
That's what
anymore.
we're doing tonight.
Good evening. My name is Weston Blaylock. I'm with Scott Smart Meters, Woodstock, New York. I've been working with Steve and Raji for a couple of years now, too, on this issue. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for having this on the table. It's taken a long time to beat it up the hill, but it's happened, and I thank you very much. I'd also like to thank Ken for writing the draft, because it gave a good point of departure for this evening's meeting. And it put something on the table. It may not be perfect, but it's a start, and it's a draft. And we did a draft, and so hopefully it'll be equal, and we move forward as a town. Secondly, ERT meters and these smart meters are touted as being green. They're not. They're always on. They're burning electricity. Steve has done tests. Michelle Hertz has done tests. These meters are burning up energy. There's no reason for that. They should be turned off. Analogs work when they work, and they don't eat up electricity. And I just want to bring out something else to your attention. In your packet tonight, the bill that, or the draft that Raj and Steve worked on is based on a bill that's called the New York State Utility Consumers Health, Safety, and Privacy Protection Act. This draft was drawn from that, and this bill is currently in the hands of Senator Amador and Assemblywoman Galef in Westchester County, and we're trying to get it introduced into the New York State Assembly. Thank you.
Randy, do you want? Oh, sorry, do you in the front? Did you want?
No.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just jotted a few notes down from.
Just need your name.
Tell us your name.
Oh, my name is Christina Charles, and I'm with Parents and Citizens for Safe Technology. And I, about 4 years ago, got a smart meter imposed upon me, and I have since had so many issues with my faculties. Since then, a healthy fitness instructor beforehand, smart meter comes under my house, and I'm debilitated. So I've come a long way since then. I've learned a lot about various shielding methods, and but the only real solution is remediation altogether. Getting this smart meter off of my home is my raison d'etre, and also for those who are suffering this, like Terry's dogs and others like myself, including the children. And so what I'm here to say is that I like that we have a resolution on the table. It's not perfect, like Weston said. We do need to revamp it. I'd love to, if we can't, barring having Steve and Raji's resolution, a go, I'd like to marry the two. If we can bring some of their key points, the amendments that are essential, which is free opt-out for the community, because the majority of us cannot afford this, as they quoted, extortion from Central Hudson after suffering and practically dying over this smart meter. This is microwave radiation that is irradiating our cells, it's splicing our DNA, and it's causing us tremendous cognitive dysfunction, issues with our children. This is very dangerous technology, and the scientific community globally is outraged that we are continuing with this method of electrical smog and pollution. It's also affecting our future generations, because the worst of all the growing list of concerns over this issue is that it's causing sterility. And in 5 generations of irradiating mice and laboratory animals, they can no longer reproduce. And we're already seeing that in our first generation. About half of this generation, my children, are already sterile. So we need to.
Your time's up. We'll get back.
Okay. Well, and again, really for the free opt-out, if possible.
Free opt-out.
Chris, he wants to be going.
Okay, well, sure.
My name is still Christopher.
You're sure?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm a Woodstock resident. And I've got a 7-year-old daughter, and I've got an 8-month son. And my 7-year-old daughter came up to me the other day. I was on my way to the mill stream, and she gave me a dandelion, and it had bloomed. And she said, "Blow on this, Daddy, and make a wish." And I made a wish I never ever wished before. I blew on it, and I didn't tell her the wish, because it's bad luck to tell anyone the wish. But the wish I had was that I would die before my children, that I would never see my child, pass away before me. And microwave radiation levels the ball playing field. Children are a lot more susceptible to this type of radiation because they've thinner skulls and they've thinner bones. And it's unnatural for a parent to wake up every morning and live in a home where his child is more vulnerable than he is. Just think of that. Waking up each morning, the last thing a parent wants to think of is that his child is vulnerable. Think of the stress that people are under. When the child gets a cough and it doesn't go away. When the child gets a pain in their head and it lasts for 4 or 5 days. Think of how we feel as parents. The World Health Organization has classified this a class 2B carcinogenic. That's a possible cause of cancer. Asbestos and tobacco were in the same category once. Remember that. How the hell can these people be allowed to put these on our home? A possible cause of cancer. My home is my castle. My children are my heart. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Another one, I agree that we shouldn't have anything pushed down our throats or put in our air or stuffed in our water that we don't have any opinion in. And I think we need to kind of, as a town, link all these things together. And don't just say, it's just Central Hudson, or we have to continue and add on to Ken's thing so that it goes the full way, it says the whole thing. And thank you for starting the ball. But we're also dealing with the roads and Monsanto and Roundup in our food, and nobody being allowed to tell what's GMO, and who cares about what they put in the fracking thing. And then the new lovely one, the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, that will make it so that we don't have to ever regulate any company to what they do to us. We'll just be totally free meat. Now I think as a town we need to stand up for home rule and for the idea that we have a right to be human beings and live in here, whether it's Central Hudson screwing us, or Roundup, or Monsanto, or the oil companies refusing to put money into alternative energy, but focusing it all on fossil fuels because that's where they pay off the legislatures. It's all the same ball of wax, and all the people who are the heads of each one are the ones who wrote the TPP, Monsanto being the head one. It's a ball of wax, and we're being squeezed, and we have to look at it as a big picture, and we have to howl loud.
And I agree with everything my friend Tony said. And as I said last week, these smart meters, they're criminal trespass. And everything that people have said has confirmed that. And I'm very, very interested in refining the language so that Central Hudson can't drive a truck through it, like with these Trojan horses. Yeah, so thank you.
I don't have anything to add. I think it's all been said. I think what was just said is maybe the most important. I think it's a home rule issue. I think it's all of our homes. And I think it's an issue of the power of a municipality to say, we don't want the Roundup next to our roads being stirred up by the traffic and we have to breathe it and then we get cancer. We don't want these cancer meters and these Fourth Amendment violating meters on our home. The public here is unanimous, and this is a huge group for this room. And I think it's now in the hands of you guys and the smart meter people who have put in their proposal that it all be, as she said, merry, so that we come up with a strong statement of home rule in that at least in Woodstock, the people that live here, for the most part, are environmentally conscious and we're sick to death being poisoned on purpose.
I'd like to second what everyone else has said, especially about home rule and about being attacked from all sides, etc. But on this specific issue, I think that given as how many words that you wrote, Ken, and even mentioning tariffs in there, to then ignore it in the resolution is a serious omission. And the other thing is also definitions. You brought up that there was a problem with confusion with some of the terms, so there should have been definitions put in there also. I mean, if you know the National Electrical Code, you're a technical person, there's an entire chapter on definitions. And even though the scope is much larger, in this case, you should have had at least, like a half page or a quarter page of definitions. And to really straighten it out. I think what the town board needs to do is to read the resolution that's proposed by the Woodstock Smart Meter Group, and you will find that that is really the resolution to pass. And it incorporates Ken's resolution, plus adds to it what's necessary, which is fee schedule. And I just want to add that because of the way things are going, we have to stop like just accepting lock, stock, and barrel those in authority and with their opinions on whether they're from Central Hudson, PSC, oil and gas companies and drillers, whatever.
Or the
And
town
we have to
board.
start. Even citizens who they think they have knowledge and examine everything in ourselves.
Thank you.
And then come to an educated decision. So I think you should vote for the one that's that was proposed by Smart Meters of Woodstock.
Thank you. Susan? You want to talk?
No, I'm in agreement with everything.
Hi, my name is Liz Shapiro, and I agree with what other people are saying about the analog meters instead of the smart meters. The particular thing I want to talk about is the opt-out, because I have an analog meter on my home. So you would think I'm safe, but I'm not. My neighbor who has a cottage that's 50 feet away, because I measured it, has a smart meter on it. And unbeknownst to me, that meter was probably put on after Hurricane Irene. So nobody knew, not the landlord, nobody. And then I found myself getting dizzy in the kitchen, which is the closest room. And I started thinking maybe the floor is crooked or something. I put a marble on it to see, and then as I started, because of Raji and Steve and Weston, to find out about the smart meters, I started realizing that my dizziness was connected with the meter of my neighbors, and that I've been having pain in my joints, including a sharp pain in my finger, which doesn't happen when I'm not at home and not around smart meters and Wi-Fi, and also brain fog, which is just not normal for me. And the opt-out doesn't go far enough, because if my neighbor decides to keep their meter on, I'm being affected by it. I have no choice other than to move. And the other thing is, the smart meters benefit nobody except for the power companies. They're class 2B carcinogens. It's like saying, okay, you don't have to smoke cigarettes, but you do have to sit in a room with people smoking cigarettes. Why are we accepting it at all? The analog meters are safe, they don't catch fire and burn people's homes down spontaneously, which happens. People's bills don't go up as they do when they get smart meters. Who needs to be radiated? I mean, this is not something we need. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very
much. Do you want to speak next? If you're next, come on up.
I would say any resolution that works for home rule, as Randy said. Oh, my name is Paula Gloria Barton. And it's important on the fine print that a resolution doesn't imply that we're a community of corporations. We want language where we reserve all our rights, because if we really look into it, that's how we got into this position. I can't even imagine my mother coming to a meeting like this in Berkeley, California. It's, when you hear these stories. So that as the research is coming in and we're trying to determine how to marry, that we move forward as free people. Because right now, the next issue, fraud will vitiate all contracts. So we don't want a resolution that's implying that the sale to Fortis of Canada was what the people wanted. Because there were 3 hearings done in 2013. Not one person spoke on behalf of the sale of our electricity going through. And yet it went through, and I'm thinking at the basis, as horrible as the technology is and as worthy as all the science needs to be done is, let's not lose sight that right now we have to be careful that we're not viewed as corporations. So a resolution coming from a corporation, the town of Woodstock, may not be the same as a resolution coming from smart meters and what Randy was talking about, home rule. I think in this case, some leeway should be granted that not everything has to be a money-making opportunity. Thank you.
If that's more comfortable, sure.
I'm Jane Kelly, and I'm the person that did the petition and gave it to Ken and requested that he write this resolution. And the reason I didn't include the things that all of you mentioned, which are very bona fide things, no issue there at all, is because there's an urgency about this as I see it, and that is to stop them from taking the analog meters right now off of our houses. I made a Public Service Commission complaint 2 years ago. They kind of backed off and told me I could keep it for a while because they had no intentions of coming to Woodstock and replacing them soon. In March, I read all the articles in the paper and all the letters, and I thought first there was a real option, opt-out, which was that we could keep our analog for free. When I called, I was in fact lied to and told that I could keep my analog, and was sent a agreement. And then the first article came out in March in the Woodstock Times that said that that opt-out wasn't really what it was supposed to be. In any case, when I called them and asked them if that was true, if they had actually lied to me, they told me that I could not keep my analog meter and I would be paying money under the assumption that I would be keeping it. I couldn't believe it. So that's fraudulent right there. But anyway, I contacted the Public Service Commission again, and they had my original complaint, and they then, within 24 hours, I got a call that said if I would not make a complaint with the Attorney General about the fees, they would allow me to keep my analog meter to the end of the year.
Wow.
So being a social worker, I said, gee, that sounds weird. Anyway, this is a very serious thing because you get a letter, a little note with the agreement, and it says, you were randomly picked by the Public Service Commission to have your meter, analog meter tested. Well, a couple of weeks ago, 4 men came, 2 trucks, and spent 1 hour testing my analog meter after they promised me I could keep it to the end of the year. If I hadn't been home, I have a feeling my analog meter would have been failing and it would have been gone. So I like this resolution because it's urgent. I only want to deal with that first. That's the only thing.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Susan.
Next.
Hi, my name is Tara Ryan. I do not live in Woodstock. I live in the town of Kingston, but I am a native of Woodstock. I grew up in Wittenberg, and my family has been here since 1700. And so I'm very sentimental to this town. I'm a very healthy person. I'm very active. I'm very functional, and I have a lot of energy. A year and a half ago, I moved into a cottage that had 2 meters, one smart meter and one that was not a smart meter. Since then, I've had a very, very, very bad case of hives that nobody has been able to figure out. And in December, I finally moved out of the cottage for that reason. And in March, I was diagnosed with cancer. And today, thank God, today I found out I'm cancer-free. I'm very excited about it. In the last 5 weeks, I've had 2 surgeries, and if I turn around, which you probably can't see from a distance, I had staples until today, from here all the way down the back of my head. And it has been the scariest 7 weeks I've ever been through in my life. So what I want to say is that, you know, I always say that when it comes to my children, I'm a mama bear. When it comes to my grandchildren, don't screw with me. I love my grandchildren. They're only 6 years old, twins. They cannot make these decisions for themselves. We have to fight for them. And I feel that Woodstock is such a pioneer on every issue. And what you do, other towns follow.
Yes.
I also am in the process of probably building a house, which means everything will be new, which means that it will be difficult not to get a smart meter. So I'm begging you to do the right thing, to work with people that are really educated and have done the homework, and please blend this document and put it through correctly, because what you do affects so many other towns and will affect every other town in our county shortly. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael Platsky. I'm a resident of this town, and I do appreciate you guys taking this issue on head on. I wanted to share a quick story. When a Central Hudson meter reader came to my house about a week ago, I asked him, I said, I'd like to keep my analog meter. What do you think? And he said, I wish you would keep your analog meter. The smart meters do not work. I have to sit in my truck, sometimes as long as 10 minutes to get a reading. Takes me longer to do it. They're inefficient. I don't like them. So from their own employees, they're having trouble. Apparently their big selling point is how efficient it is to get a reading. From them, that's a bunch of hooey. I would just like to urge you to write an amendment that is as strongly worded as possible. Leave them no space to get through. Take a look at what Steve and Raji wrote. I'm sure between the two you could get a really strong resolution written. I think you're all aware of the health issues here. I'm sort of preaching to the converted. We're counting on you to do the best possible job so that the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, and there's no way they can go around this and sneak alternative meters in that are still radiating. So let's keep our analog meters. Let's stay healthy. Thanks for your attention.
Anybody standing up there? Oh, yeah, come on up.
I think I'll be here too.
Okay. Tell us your name.
My name is Ruth Rose.
Ruth, I can't see you. Do you mind coming up, please?
All right. Okay. I saw this here on TV.
Thank you.
Ruth, is it Rose or Rose?
Rose, R-O-C.
Oh, Rose, okay.
And I live in an apartment in Woodstock, and I recently got a smart meter, and I wouldn't have known. They put it in October 10th, and because a friend of mine had one, and I had some education about it for a couple of years ago and was dreading them, I checked downstairs in the laundry room, and I saw that 3 apartments had them, and I was one. And they hadn't told me, they never notified me. I found it out months later. And I have been having ringing in my ears and toe cramping. I'm 1 floor above the laundry room, my kitchen, and when I heard some other lady mention her fingers cramping, I've had this like toe numbing and cramping because I think just walking on the floor above it, but I know it's not just the meter, it's, you know, I spent a few $100s to try and shield myself from the antenna-like effect in all the walls. My ears ring in various areas, and, you know, I was very upset about it. I called Central Hudson. I don't want the opt-out meter. I know it's just another smart meter, which will later be able, they will put the attachments on that will do the same things. I want the analog meter, I don't want the opt-out meter. I think definitely we should have the points, the resolution amended that, you know, read this, you know, either submit the second one or merge the two with the, you know, with all the research and ways that Steve and Raji have worked on so hard to, you know, and what else? I have brain fog too, but you know, what else? Crab toes, oh, my time is up.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
My name is Lucia Ferrante, and I'm tired. I'm tired that we have to continually fight to protect ourselves and to live in a safe environment. You would think, living in Woodstock and the surroundings, I live on the border between Woodstock and Saugerties, technically the town of Saugerties, that I have to worry when I go out and check all the time, did they put a meter on our house, did they do it yet? And I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live worrying about my family. I'm passionate about protecting them. And sometimes I sound a bit crazy when I'm always walking around telling people things. They don't believe me. Why would they ever allow these things to happen? Well, the fact is, we can't wait for the large corporations with powerful lobbies with money to be made to look out for our interests. It's not going to happen. Woodstock is a community that will do this. I could see Woodstock as one in our area that will do this. I don't know about Saugerties initiating this process, and that's my town. So if Woodstock can set the example and do the right thing, I'm a science teacher. Every day I teach my children. I teach biology about mutations and what causes them, and electromagnetic radiation causes them. And they have their cell phones in their pockets. And we have Wi-Fi in the building, and I'm reevaluating everything. I tell them, power off your cell phone. It's vibrating. You're receiving signals. It's no different than a smart meter. This is known facts. This is scientific evidence behind this, and I think we're all well aware of this. Family members have gotten sick with cancer. I don't know exactly what caused it, but our world is changing, and we need to protect ourselves. So this is one step. Let us be the example. I don't want to walk around in stores and look at babies playing with cell phones, that their parents occupy them in the car. And I want to say something, but I don't want to be crazy, and I want to offend people. I want them to believe what I'm saying, but based on who are you? You know, so I don't want to always feel like I'm the crazy one. This is real scientific evidence. It's not in the media. We need to start small and spread this from Woodstock throughout Ulster County and let this grow. So it's really important that this happen.
Thank you.
We have to
I think we're going to go to the back row now.
My name's Joe Barton, and I'd like to ask this board, you've heard from all the people of this town. It's unanimous what the people of this town are saying. We don't want smart meters. I want this town board to use Steve and Raji's paperwork, because they have done the most research, and they really are watching out for this town. And this town board has now heard unanimously from the people that we don't want these smart meters. So I want you to consider Raji and Steve's paperwork. Thank you.
Next. Would you like to speak?
Hi, my name is Susan Epstein. Probably most of you know me. I live in Woodstock. And I think we definitely need a resolution that says that anybody who wants to retain or have an analog meter should be allowed to do so, no tariff, no service fees, no extra, whatever they call it. They've got a million terms for the money that they add on, period. I don't think anybody should have a digital meter if there's any question that they cause health problems or fires. For those who, if there's somebody who wants them, I don't know, but I feel that those who don't want them, and I think you should use the word analog meter, because there's too much confusion between digital this, it's not a smart meter, but it's an RF meter. You say analog, everybody seems to know what that means. And that's all I have to say. Keep it simple.
Anybody else in that back corner?
Yeah, I'll speak. Hi, my name is Brett Munson, and I've been living in this town for 54 years, and I've been living in my home for 34 years. A couple of years ago, they put a smart meter on my house, and shortly after that, I found out I had congestive heart failure. Well, let me tell you something. After Raji came and checked out that, from the digital meter to the, it just was off the charts. She was even getting dizzy there, and it's affected my health as well. I also called Central Hudson, and I wanted them to remove that meter, which they refused to do unless they were going to charge me that $49 and that $6 fee, and I didn't think that was right. So I still have that letter and that paperwork sitting home, and I'm glad that Raji and Steve have brought this proposal in front of you, because I'm tired of being in such a brain fog, having headaches every other day, and I just don't want to move at this point in time because Woodstock is my home. So I felt that brain fog, and I know what a lot of people are talking about here, and it is affecting a lot of people's health, and I couldn't agree with everybody else here and what they said tonight, that we should propose this resolution, get rid of all the little loopholes, and make this as strong as possible for everybody's benefit. And that's what I got to say.
Thank you. I'll give you the last word, and I'm going to bring it back up to the table.
I just want to say that our resolution has definitions in it, which is very important, and I want to say that's the resolution we want.
Okay. Got it. So I'll just ask the board, it's the board now we're talking.
Okay, I wanted to, point of information.
We're just,
No, point of procedure, actually.
okay.
Point of procedure, I'd like to move that the board table any vote on any of the
Well, let the-
resolutions
let-
until both resolutions.
Let the board address this now.
Like I said early on, that we could go through the bend a couple of times.
We're going to bring it back to the board, and then we'll see where we go from there. Now we're going to talk for a couple of minutes. So as I see it, that we have two options. One is to move forward with a vote on Ken's resolution. The other is to entertain a motion to table it and continue to either improve Ken's, combine the two, or come up with a totally new resolution. Any thoughts from the board on which direction?
Well, I'm not at this point on that, but I'd love to say something about tonight.
Okay.
First of all, I am so proud and privileged to have the responsibility of sitting here. This town is a kick in the ass. I can't vote for Ken's resolution as it stands now. I haven't had the opportunity to go through carefully with the resolution that we've been alternatively surprised with, not surprised with, but given to. And I definitely want to do that, so I probably am leaning in the direction of tabling and working that out. But I have a few other things to say. When I was a little kid, 7, 6, 5 years old, driving around with my father in the car that we had. This is back in the dinosaur age. I used to wonder, how come trees didn't grow directly around high-tension wires? It was always a great big hole. And I learned very early that electricity, and especially going through wires, is not the greatest thing in the world. I also can recall my, let's say, frustration and anger with experts. I remember when I was a little kid, the German-American Bund was very popular all over the place. And the experts were saying, oh, don't worry about them. They're just good Americans. They're showing their spirit with baloney. A couple of weeks ago, I was down at Stony Point for a conference on the Indian Point nuclear plant. And there was an expert, 2 experts there saying, nothing to worry about. That night, on the TV, I see smoke coming up from the dam. Public utilities are aptly named. They utilize the public to make profits for themselves. And the idea that they're going to consider letting the public have what it needs at a charge. At a charge. And not just a one-time charge, but over and over and over and over and over again. From how many thousand people in this area, did you say?
300,000.
300,000, yeah. All of this gets down to the situation that we live with. And that's the normalization of abuse. And that's something that affects us in every single way, I hope with the exception that this town board does not abuse this public. And so therefore, I guess, I'm coming down in favor of tabling Ken's resolution, giving me time to study the alternatives, and as well as keeping in mind everything that everybody said here, which I absolutely agree with. So,
Thank you, Jeff.
We've been talking about having this resolution for a while now, and the reason the town board was able to go through all this was because we had a resolution on the table from Ken that we could discuss. So I'm very grateful that you had a resolution that we could start with. I know this, I was trying to compare when they were being read, that the first 3-4 paragraphs are almost identical to what Ken had stated, so I'm fine with that. But as I said, there's all these definitions, which I understand you want included, as well as the analog information. I'm all for that. I'm totally willing to merge the 2 resolutions or just use yours, but I need some time to just look it over. And I would also like maybe our attorney to check it out to make sure there are no loopholes in there that can be a problem when we send it on to Central Hudson. Hopefully that won't take more than a week or so, and we can move on as fast as possible. I didn't even realize Ken came over and said, you have a smart meter. Talk about brain, I have issues too. I thought they were my weed allergies, but I have a feeling it's more than that. I have a tree right by my meter that all the branches right around it are totally dead. Take pictures. And you can see, that's where the meter is, and all those branches have died.
The whole genome is being affected.
Yeah, so I'm not disagreeing with the effects. I just want to put the best resolution we can on the table. And I think that would be by going over yours, combining it, merging it, putting in the definitions, and then having
our attorney look it over briefly. That shouldn't take long at all. That's a good thing. So yes, I definitely want to table it and wait till we have something. And if we have it done before our next meeting, which is June, we can, we have many special meetings, so we can always call a meeting to, as soon as it's done, I'd like to call a meeting and pass the resolution. Thank you.
Ken?
Thank you.
First, Ken, I want to thank you for putting this resolution.
Well, got something started.
You got the ball.
Well, I don't think it's like a lot of people who have applied for the Central Hudson opt-out and have gotten conflicting stories, and you've heard some of them here tonight. Whether this gets tabled or not, I'll continue working with those 4 people and with Central Hudson to sort this out. And we have a petition going into the PSC, which is not part of this resolution, not part of the town board, but it's from the residents. We have 50 signatures, and we could get more if we wanted, I suppose. But that'll start the process to start getting the option of keeping the analog meter more firmly established. Now I did look at the fee schedules, and when the PSC released its order for the opt-out, they spent a lot of time talking about the fees and what to charge, etc. And there were 2 public hearings, and after that, both public hearings which the Stop Smart Meter people participated in, and there was never any mention about objecting to those fees. So I didn't put anything in, but I mean, certainly that could be put in. But if the town board decides to table this and to go with another resolution, I'm fine with that, but we'll just continue working with the people who have actually dealt with Central Hudson and try to get some resolution.
Okay, so I'll make a motion. So I'll make a motion to table the resolution.
Sure.
Second. All in favor? Aye. So what I would ask each of you to do is to take the 2 resolutions, Ken's and Steve and Raj's, and all the information that we've heard tonight, and let's put something together. I would rather do it at a scheduled town board meeting as opposed to calling a special meeting, pop up, and not, some people miss it. So let's try and get it on the first meeting in June. And let's try. Let's try. Excuse me. Let's try and get a resolution on the agenda a week before, so that the public has an opportunity to look through it.
Yeah.
So, Woodstock through Jeremy Wilbur have also been made part of the discussions with the Public Service Commission on these issues. So we do get any communications back and forth, and I will instruct Kerry to send communication that we're very concerned about this issue and working on it.
Good.
Excuse me, can I ask one question? Could you, when you consider this, could you bring Steve and Raji in to also consult with you, because they have the most knowledge?
I have asked my colleagues to look over this. They're free to ask anybody and everybody.
I would like them to be a part of it, and I'm sure most of this community would too.
Also, Bill mentioned that we would look it over, come up with something, have it to the public at least a week before the meeting. You can make comments on what we come up with and see if we missed something that you think is really crucial, and let us know. So that, you have that opportunity a week before.
Yeah, prior to the meeting, and then when you get to the meeting, you hopefully have something that
So
you
that,
can work with.
we can look it over, maybe get the attorney to look it over, have it out in the public.
Can I ask one question, please?
Yes.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
When you're speaking to the Public Service Commission, would you ask them to prove that the fee, the opt-out fee, isn't already baked into the old analog meters?
That's discussed within their order.
That's very important,
Well, that's discussed within their order if you look at it. And I think
I did look at it. It's not, they in no way justify this fee at all.
Well, they discuss it.
They discuss it, but they didn't answer the question. That's not what I asked. Can you ask them that question, please?
I will pose that question.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'd like to remind the public that this board had the courage not only to say no to fracking, but then we subsequently passed was a resolution or whatever, criminalizing the activity.
Bravo.
We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate. We think too much and feel too little. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness. Without these qualities, life will be violent. And all will be lost. All will be lost. Do not despair. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die. Dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people. Will return to the people. Let us all use. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate. We think too much and feel too little. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. All will be lost. Do not despair. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die. Dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people. Will return to the people.